The Portland City Council unanimously advanced a policy protecting people from discrimination based on their family or relationship structure, including those in polyamorous relationships.
That is one in which people have intimate relationships with more than one partner at the same time. Fox 12's Leah Kamana joins us now in studio with the details. Leah.
This potential policy change is part of a larger ordinance upholding LGBTQ+ rights, allowing people to sue over claims of discrimination related to employment, housing, and other areas. And if passed, Portland would become the largest city in America to have anti-discrimination policies in place for polyamorous families. 2 weeks ago, council heard testimony from countless Portlanders in support of the policy change, specifically asking council to add language recognizing diverse family and intimate structures, saying it would send a clear signal. One person who testified was David Carlson, a legislative campaign coordinator with Open, an organization for polyamory and ethical non-monogamy.
Legal protections are only as strong as the words that define them. We need to make crystal clear in the text itself who we are talking about. Without that, a judge can look at a polyamorous family denied housing and say, that ordinance doesn't clearly cover you. That's not hypothetical. That's how vague civil rights laws get gutted in practice.
Following testimony, Councillor Tiffany Koyama Lane proposed an amendment to Chapter 23, updating the definition of sexual orientation and adding definitions for family or relationship structure. Specifically, the amendment defines family or relationship structure to include multi-partner or multi-parent families and relationships, including step-families, multi-generational households, consensual non-monogamous relationships, and consensual sexual and or intimate relationships, including asexual and aromantic relationships. This amendment was then discussed at yesterday's meeting, with councillors unanimously advancing the policy.
Colleagues, I think at the end of the day, the question before us is pretty simple. Do we believe that Portlanders have the right to live lives free of discrimination? And if the answer is yes, then it should be easy to support this amendment in front of us today.
One area of concern for councillors was that the policy could attract unwelcome attention from right-wing groups. But according to council, establishing these new protections is not a Portland-specific effort, with at least 4 other cities adopting similar protections since 2023, including Oakland and the city of Berkeley in California, and Somerville and Cambridge in Massachusetts. As mentioned, if adopted, Portland would be the largest city to adopt such policies. Council will hold a final vote on the proposal next Wednesday, March 4th. Reporting in studio, Leah Kamana, Good Day, Oregon.